Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining here at Unapologetic Progressive. Today we're going to talk about what's been going on in LA over the last few days and the immigration raid, what led to it, and why the protests turned out to be the way they did. We're also going to talk about some incendiary headlines that the news media has been pushing, from Fox News to CNN, MSNBC, and everybody else. And I really wish the mainstream media would shut up once in a while and stop scaring people. And we'll discuss that later in this video as well. Now, on Friday, there was an immigration raid at, I think, 3 or 4 different places in LA County that led to some protests because it was leaked onto Reddit that this was happening. A lot of people showed up, and they kind of chased away and kind of cornered these ICE agents. Now, during the whole kerfuffle, the whole mess of it all, the leader of the California Union, the Service Employees International Union of California, their president, David Huerta, was arrested for apparently obstructing an officer. I haven't seen any video on if he actually did this or not, but apparently that was the charge that he was charged with. And all he was trying to do was keep his union members safe. From what I've read, that's what he was trying to do. And that sparked off an even bigger thing, right? It made more people angry. It made more people angry, scared more people, and convinced more people to come out. And then, right as LAPD and LA Sheriff's Department, or LA County Sheriff's Department got everything, started to get it under control. And they said that they had everything under control. DHS sends in more federal agents, more border patrol, and then the very next day, Donald Trump sends in the National Guard. Now, let's be clear, only 300 National Guard people ever showed up. But he called in the National Guard, which caused the, escalation of what was going on. More people came out. And then at the end of the day, it became violent. As you've seen probably the videos and pictures of electric cars that were set on fire throughout different streets. Those were mostly all Waymo cars. As in, those were the driverless cars, like driverless taxis and stuff. If you haven't seen them before, they're kind of cool. And I feel bad for the company, for Waymo, that these cars were destroyed. But what I haven't seen is a clear, decisive thing on who or what were calling these cars into these areas. Because what these did was make it appear that more agents were coming in, right? And so these cars got destroyed, thinking that more agents were coming in to arrest more people. And so those cars got destroyed, and they kept being called into the area, and no one knows why. Literally, the mayor of LA had to request that Waymo turn off their, shut down their app in LA until they got everything under control so these cars could quit being set on fire. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it didn't become violent. What I'm going to tell you is it wasn't violent until the escalation by the Trump administration, DHS, and Trump sending in the National Guard. These things, they happen. Protests happen. And sometimes they get a little dicey. Sometimes they get a little aggressive. Sometimes they get a little loud. But the escalation by DHS and the Trump administration led it to become a bigger thing than it was. This protest wasn't a giant protest at first. It was literally outside of one building. A few hundred people, if that. And because of the escalation, it swelled to well over 1,000+ people. These things wouldn't have happened without the escalation. The LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department had it under control. So much so that LAPD was still involved in LA Pride. and were involved in the Pride Parade on Sunday. That doesn't tell me like a city that's completely, being overrun by these protesters. Now, on to the incendiary headlines that you're going to be seeing. You're going to be seeing incendiary headlines like Trump's dispatching the U.S. Marine Corps into L.A. That they're sending these Marines into L.A. to fight the protesters. Now, as of right now, I follow a person over on TikTok known as Under the Desk News. She's absolutely awesome. I suggest if you haven't heard of her, check her out here on YouTube. I believe she's here, and also on TikTok, and I think she's on Facebook, Instagram, everything else too. Check her out. She's absolutely awesome. Gets a lot better news sometimes than I can. Sometimes a lot of the news that I find out about and I research, I learn from her first. So I would check her out if you could. But she said at a 4 o'clock, just after 4 o'clock update, that as of right now, the Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton, that their lawyers, the JAG people, are trying to figure out how exactly they could be involved without violating the Constitution and violating the laws and everything, and being deployed would be an unlawful order, which means they wouldn't be able to follow that. They would have to ignore that order because they are supposed to ignore unlawful orders. But the fact is that they haven't left Camp Pendleton yet, and you'll know ahead of time before they do. But the thing is, these headlines like this are from CNN. This one was from CNN. 700 Marines being deployed to L.A. hasn't happened yet. And if they did, there's only a few things that the Marine Corps would be able to do. They'd be able to guard federal buildings and station themselves around federal buildings, make sure that those don't get damaged. And that's it. They couldn't be on the front lines. They couldn't be firing weapons at people. And so those are fears that I don't think need to be pushed right now by the news media. Because all it's going to do is see more people are going to see it. More people are going to, prepare for whatever they think is coming. They're going to arm themselves and they're going to start shooting. And this is going to be a problem. Because here's the thing. This is exactly what Donald Trump wants. Donald Trump wants the news media to work people up into hysteria. He wants the news media to work people up into such a tizzy that they commit crimes. Therefore, he has a reason to send more troops in, right? That's what he's hoping for. So if you're one of the people that are out there, my suggestion is not to fall for it. Stay peaceful no matter what. I understand the protest. But here are a few things I suggest not doing. Getting on overpasses and hurling things at cars underneath. Those people driving are not part of your problem. I saw some videos of people that were throwing rocks at ICE vehicles as they drove by, but also sometimes they were hitting people's cars that were civilians. And that's not right either. If you want your message to be heard, and you don't want Donald Trump being able to use you as a reason to hurt other people in the country, stay peaceful no matter what they pull. I definitely think that would be something beneficial that I think everybody should really pay attention to. Is that we don't want to play into what Trump wants. I support the protests. I support what you're protesting. I support why you're protesting. Because the way that these ICE raids are being carried out, they're devoid of humanity, devoid of empathy, and devoid of the law. Because what they are doing is raiding people who were here legally. It was the main thing going on at these places, right? Most of these people are legal. Do you also find it funny though that the same people who claim that the illegal immigrants are mooching off the government are the same ones being arrested and deported from jobs? And let's talk a little bit about what's going on with immigration. Now, I think everybody in this country supports the idea of a fair, just immigration system that keeps illegals, people that are entering the country illegally, out of the country. And I think most people would agree with that, right? My stance on that is humans aren't illegal, especially on stolen land. That's my belief. But I understand that the majority of Americans don't want people crossing the country or crossing into the country illegally, and there are ways to fix that. There are ways to make our immigration system more just, more fair, and less expensive. Because that's one of the main reasons people don't do it the right way when they don't. It's cost and time. Because I have a friend of mine whose wife immigrated here completely legally from the UK. Yet it cost thousands of dollars for her to become a citizen. So, also, she's a naturalized citizen now here in the United States, and guess what? She could be deported. The only thing that is making it where she's not is the fact that she's British. If she was black or brown, she'd have already been probably deported, because that's what this country's doing. They are taking people with legal immigration status and then revoking it for no cause and then deporting the people. That's what they're doing. I support, reasonable immigration policy, even though I don't believe anyone should be considered illegal. I believe anybody that comes into this country undocumented, I believe that they should have a path to citizenship if they are found. I do not believe it should equate an immediate expulsion from the country. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And I don't believe that's American. If you think that is the way America should operate, then I don't think you're a patriot. I don't think you love this country, and I don't think you understand what this country was founded on. Nowhere inside the Statue of Liberty, on that Colossus poem, which I believe that was the name of it, that says, "Bring us your tired, huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." Nowhere did I see yearning to breathe free if they're documented. Yearning to breathe free if they fit Donald Trump's picture of what an American is. At the end of the day, the Trump administration is trying their best to rewrite everything that is the American Republic. This is not much different than what took place in Nazi Germany. It started off with people that Hitler was able to convince were the others. Your gypsy type folks, for example. Your LGBTQ folks. And once he was able to convince the German people that those people were subhuman, he was able to convince them that the Jewish people were subhuman as well. And that is what Donald Trump is doing here. They are trying to convince you, in his administration, they are trying to convince you that these people are subhuman, that they don't deserve to be here, that they're less than human. And what do you think he's going to do when he's done with this? Because as it is right now, they're already having to create illegals. And what I mean by that is they're having their cases thrown out where they are going about it the right way. Right? I saw a video this morning of a woman who had been going to, immigration court, trying to become legal. And she was arrested on her way home from work with her husband. Why? Because earlier that morning, ICE had gotten rid of her illegal status. Because why? Because they canceled her appointments and decided that she was no longer legal. And this has happened time and again with this administration. This is happening over and over and over again. And I think it's absolutely repulsive. Because these people are not doing anything illegal. They're doing it the right way, but they are having their legal status revoked without their knowledge. They're not being given due process. They're not having their moment in court. They're being arrested on their way to court or their way from work when they don't even have a chance to defend themselves. This is fascism. That is what this is. This is fascism. And fascism in America may look a little different than it has in other places. Because not all forms of fascism turn out to be exactly the same. But if you see what's happening and you're supportive of it, you're not an American. If you're supportive of people being ripped away from their families, you don't tell me you're pro-family. People being killed by police and ICE agents during these raids, if you support that, then you're not pro-life. And don't tell me you are. This country was built by immigrants. And before the immigrants started to arrive, this nation was built on slave labor. And then after the slave labor was gone, we basically treated the Irish the same way. So at the end of the day, they're just trying to scapegoat people like they always do. That's what, the racist bigots always do in this country. They always try to find somebody to scapegoat. Anyhow, thank you for watching. I'll see you down the road. If you watched my previous video about Greta Thunberg, sorry for the abrupt ending. I kind of got in the middle of something all of a sudden, and so I had to stop the recording. Anyhow, I'll see you down the road.